Welcome to another episode of Mystery Garage. I am super excited about today's episode, mainly because of two things. One, we're introducing a brand new project car to the channel that I am so excited about. And at the same time, we're starting the great debate of whether you keep a rare car rare by factory option or do you modify it regardless of its rarity. A ton of stuff in today's episode, so stay tuned, let's get at it. Alright, here we go. I am super excited about today's episode, so let's jump right into it. If you're new to the Mystery Garage, welcome. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're interested in Volkswagen content, Mk1 stuff specifically, this is the channel for you. Whether that's restoration stuff, engine swaps, I highly recommend that you subscribe to this channel because if I haven't covered it off already, I really do plan to do so in the future. Also, if you're new to the channel, I'd love for you guys to drop in the comments what you guys have in your own garage, maybe what you're working on, or if you have any questions or concerns, but anything you've seen on this channel thus far. So in today's episode, last episode, I left you guys a huge matzo ball about a project car I just recently purchased. I left you guys a bunch of information, had you guessing on what it could have been, everything from Dashers, Quantums, Foxes, Scirocco's, Cabriolets, all kinds of stuff. You guys left it all on the line. I even had people inboxing me on Instagram thinking I would slip, but I didn't. I held tight. I still haven't told you guys what it is, and it's sitting right here. So the couple things I went over in last episode, that I gave you some pretty big hints of what it could be. And if you put them together, I really told you exactly what this car was. But you have to be a Volkswagen enthusiast to really catch all the hints I gave you and put them together. I said the car was 30 years old. I said it was a Mk1. I said a limited production number in the US, and I told you it was 422. If you put those three things together, you basically had it on a silver spoon. One of the things I told you when I got into buying this car is I wanted to find a chassis that I didn't currently own that could accept the 1.8T Mark IV engine I have sitting in my shop. I wanted to put it into something else that I had, so it had me looking for another car to buy for the channel. And I told you that I really wanted to try and cover off the entire Mk1 platform on this channel to show you guys a ton of different variations, as well as a ton of different variations of engines, to hopefully really expand on the database of information we have on this channel. Anyways, that brought me looking for a different kind of car that I didn't currently own, and I was looking for something with a little bit more uniqueness than a standard base model car hanging around the area. So I started scouring the area for a few months, actually. I've been doing it, and I came across this one. And I didn't really know what to expect when I went to go look at it, because it was kind of an older gentleman who had it in his garage and wasn't really great at making a very, very detailed sales ad. So I didn't really know what to expect. The pictures were terrible. So I drove up anticipating one thing, and while it did fit a lot of what he said, it really was a lot more complete than I intended. That being said, this became a car that kind of opened the conversation about what do you do for the purity of a car and something that might be a little bit rare. Do you restore that car? Do you make that car basically as factory optioned, as clean as possible, and make it more of a collector? Or do I ruin its purity and motor swap it anyways like I originally intended to do? And as I brought this car home and started looking it over and learning more about it, I knew a little bit about it, but I started learning even more about it. And the more I learned about it, the more excited I got about this car. The more information was flowing, the more I was deciding, man, should I ruin this car by motor swapping it? Anyways, I wanted to get into this episode and have that conversation down politely in the comment section below about what you guys think I should do once I show you the car. Should I keep it factory clean and kind of make it a restoration car for this channel and try and bring it as back to exactly as it was sold in 1991? Or should I, regardless of what it is, utilize this car as I do every other car I have, make it a driver, make it fun by changing up the powertrain and really showing you guys what it takes to put a 1.8T into a Mk1 platform. So without further ado, the car's sitting right here. Let's talk about what I got. I bought a 1991 barn find Aigner Cabriolet. If you don't know what this car is, or it looks super basic to you, let's start talking about it, because you gotta know what this thing is. I know, a lot of you guys are probably like, oh man, a Cabriolet, really? I used to feel the same way, and I still kind of do. Meanwhile, they are a Mk1 car, and they do look pretty good. A drop top, really? But honestly, you guys need to learn a little bit more about what this ETIENNE car is to really understand why it's so cool and why I had to have it. To really understand what this car is, you need to understand who the guy is and what the correlation between him and Volkswagen have on this car. I know there's a lot of you sitting there thinking, who, what is he even talking about? Show me the car, let's talk about the car, and trust me, we will. But there's such a cool part of the story that begins before that. Who is ETIENNE, the brand? Why did Volkswagen pair with that company? And why does this car even exist in the first place? And the more you learn about the story, the cooler the story gets. And I really wanted to share that with you guys. To show you what I mean by that is ETIENNE, the company, actually means different things to different people based on where you live in the world. So let me explain myself. In 1904, ETIENNE was born in Hungary. From Hungary, he moved to Germany, where he worked as a bookbinder. His true passion was fashion, so while working as a bookbinder, he actually experimented with the leathers and the tooling to start making belts and certain things like that. He was actually so passionate about it, he left his career as a bookbinder and moved to Paris to pursue fashion full time. He got a lot of his inspiration from horse racing and the equestrian, the high-end leathers and the expensive fashion items that were around, and he really wanted to pursue that as a fashion direction. He actually made a mark so fast for himself in Paris that he actually made a bunch of huge relationships. He even apprenticed for Christian Dior. So from that point on, he really wanted to start his own brand. So he actually moved from Paris to New York and created ETIENNE, the fashion company as we know it today. But here's where the story takes a bit of a turn. When he moved to New York and created the company, he needed help producing the items in New York. So he actually partnered with somebody who had access to production. The crazy part of the story is that between the two of them, they had totally different opinions of where the brand should go. ETIENNE was always passionate about high-end fashion, high-quality items at a higher ticket price with a lower production. But his partner had the complete opposite point of view. He wanted to have high production items at medium to lower end cost to really get the fashion items out there to the masses. And this difference of opinion was actually so deep that ETIENNE couldn't work with him anymore. So he actually sold the company, or what existed from the starting of the brand, and actually moved back to Germany and continued making fashion items. The story gets crazier from here because the name of the company that he left in the US is actually still known as ETIENNE, but it's ETIENNE US. When he went back to Germany, he actually continued to work under the name ETIENNE AG. So there's two fashion houses in the world under the same name with relatively the same logo that started from the same fashion individual, but are two completely different entities. The one in the US is middle market to low end. You're going to see their stuff in places like TJ Maxx or Ross. But if you know of ETIENNE in Europe, it's high end. It's the same thing as Coors or Coach or Gucci. And when Volkswagen paired with that company, they paired with the Munich brand, the German outfit, the high-end outfit, which is the same as Volkswagen pairing, making a partnership with Gucci or Coach or Michael Kors. So that's how cool this car is. And there's so much more to the story too. It's incredible. Even his name, for example, his name is ETIENNE, Etienne being French, Aigner being German. But since he moved from Paris to New York, a lot of people think his name is ETIENNE because his first name is French. They think his last name must be French, so they pronounce it ETIENNE. Even if you look on the internet, there's a vastly different array of how people pronounce his name, but his proper name is ETIENNE because his last name is German. Even the logo has a story too. The logo is pretty cool because it resorts back to his inspiration originally from horse racing, that his logo for his company is actually a horseshoe. But believe it or not, the US ETIENNE, or the UK German Munich version of ETIENNE, actually uses very similar logos, which are both horseshoes, but there is slight differences. And the pairing with Volkswagen in this car is the Munich fashion house, the German one, the higher end brand, and they use that logo within this car. They made this car for only 1 year, and they did it for a reason. This car is a pairing and a fashion pairing to celebrate the 35th year of Volkswagen with the Cabriolet. So when you think about that, this was in 1991, so that reaches back 35 years. And that would have been cabriolets in the Beetle era and the Carmen Ghia era and into the Cabriolet era. And that's where the rarity comes in. These cars were only made in very low production to celebrate that 35-year anniversary. They were offered in 3 different colors. You can get them in the Bordeaux red, a mangrove green, or you can get it in this midnight blue metallic. And again, each one of those colors came with a slightly varying degree of rarity. The rarest color being the Bordeaux red, the second rarest color being this midnight blue, and the third rarest color, or the last of the remaining colors, was the mangrove green. And they were only different by a few cars. The difference between the Bordeaux red, the rarest color, and this midnight blue was 23 cars. There was 399 of the Bordeaux red sold in the US. In this midnight blue, there was 422 and 639 available in the mangrove green. So it goes to tell you just how rare those cars are. And like I mentioned in my last episode, let's imagine how many of these cars even exist nowadays. It should be less than half. And there was 2 different options available. You can get it in the 5-speed or the 3-speed automatic. So let's start talking about this car, because I did say I was going to come back and tell you all about this car. So let's roll it out of the garage. Remember, it is dirty, but we'll take a quick cinematic look at it. I'll show you all about it. We'll stop and we'll talk about it and tell you just how cool this car really is. There it is. What do you guys think? Now, don't forget, this car is 30 years old this year, and for 10 years of its life, it was stuck in a dusty old garage. I haven't cleaned it, washed it, nothing. A lot of this car can be brought back with a little bit of love, and you really got to remember, this opens the big debate. If this car is so complete, should this be a restoration collector car kept? Because you got to remember that the numbers of this car available brand new was 422 in the US. How many of those cars do we actually think is left? You guys who are in the comments, if you know anybody who owns one of these edition cars, please let me know. As you can see, there's little bits of the interior that I would love to get brand new, or newer, sorry, not brand new, newer if I could. Lots of little things that could be improved upon, that sort of thing, but this car is nearly complete. It has all the options. Obviously the steering wheel is missing, certain things like that, but those things can be easily found. The rest of the car, the AE stuff that's unique to this car, is all there. It just needs a really deep cleaning. So this opens the huge debate. Do we modify this car now? Because remember, the numbers of existing cars remaining this complete is probably very, very thin. So do we modify this car or do we keep it a collector? I would love to hear your guys' opinions in the comments. For everybody who thought this car was something else, don't be disappointed. This channel will get at some point an S1 Scirocco. I make you that promise now. At some point, I will get an S1 Scirocco. It's just got to be a clean example, probably something cool. For anybody else who gets something different, you know, I would love to get a Fox in the future. I don't know about a Dasher or Quantum or those sort of things, but definitely a Fox would be a cool option to add to the channel. A Scirocco would be a cool option to add to the channel. And this car also is a cool option. Now I'm definitely on the fence. I'm definitely leaning in one direction over the other, but I'm not going to tell you which one it is. I want you guys down in the comments to really let me know what you think. Again, be polite about it, but tell me what you think I should do and why I should do it. Either restore it and keep it a collector option, or should we go and modify it anyways? Because I got that 1.8T sitting there. I would love to give that the upgrade. But lots of different things on the plate here about what we should do with this car. Now, I also haven't addressed too much about the condition this car is currently sitting in. It's not running, all that kind of stuff. What's wrong with it? But I think we're going to hit that in the next episode. We'll do a what's wrong with it episode because there's lots of little things we can discuss. But between now and then, I really want you guys to hit the comment section and let me know what you think I should do with this, because I'd like to have a decision by next episode so I can release it to all of you. And again, as much as it is my decision, I would love this also to be your guys'. So whether you are one way or the other, don't let the other way win. Throw your feedback down in the comments section. Until next time, guys, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Let's wait till the next one. Take care.